manifestation. When I say this word, what is the thought that comes to mind? Is it magic? Is it visualization? Is it law of attraction? I bet some variation of these are coming to mind. Yet the one concept that doesn't come to mind when we say manifestation is years and years of dedicated, selfless action, even in the face of immense opposition that inevitably results in unbelievable success and impact. This is what is needed to truly manifest. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan gives 3 game-changing secrets of manifestation. Welcome back to the 3-part series on manifestation that Bhagwan reveals in the Bhagavad Gita in his chapter on Karma Yoga. We have already discussed the first 2 secrets of manifestation, which is to recognize the divine source of all activity and act in harmony with that divine source. This is the concept of Yagya. The second is to act free from our ego to create prosperity and impact. And the third one, which is to act free from attachments, is what we'll be discussing today. How does this work? When we recognize the divine source and we act without our ego, there are conditions that are created for prosperity. There are conditions that are created for impact. And Bhagwan says in the Bhagavad Gita, the man who rejoices only in the self, who is satisfied with the self, who is content in the self alone, for him truly there is nothing more to be done. For him, there is no interest in what is done or what is not done, nor does he depend upon any being for any object. Therefore, always perform action which should be done without attachment. For by performing action without attachment, man attains the supreme. To understand the deep significance of the verses, we need to go to the upper Himalayas some 70 years ago in the year 1951, where a young man who was born as Balakrishna Menon and had recently been initiated as Swami Chinmayananda sat listening to great Mahatmas. This was in Gangotri in the upper Himalayas on a small bank of sand known as Fakiristan, which is the land of the wise. On this land of the wise assembled Mahatmas, spiritual masters and aspirants from all over India to debate philosophy and spirituality. Listening to these Mahatmas debate, the young Swami Chinmayananda thought to himself, these debates, these discussions on philosophy of the highest truth, these are our inheritance as Bharatiyas. But yet, these discussions are so far removed from the day-to-day experience of India, which in the 1950s, as it does in some parts today, was a place of struggle, of poverty, of difficulty. And so, meditating on the banks of the Ganga, he heard this message from the Ganga itself. She said, the fulfillment of any possession is in its sharing with others. I, as the Ganga, flow from the high Himalayas into the plains and create the conditions to support millions of people along the way. You too should share this knowledge that you've got so that people across the country may benefit. Inspired by this meditation, Swamiji went to his guru, Swami Tapovanam, and shared his plan. His guru did not discourage him, but he knew there was one thing that needed to be removed from Swamiji's heart if this plan were to be successful. And that was the last remainder of ego, the last set of identity of being a renunciate. So he advised Swamiji to spend 6 months traveling up and down India and study for himself the conditions in which his plan would be successful. Swamiji, delighted by this guidance from his guru, set about traveling in India. At that time, he traveled in the lowest class of train compartments that were available. He slept on the floor. He went door to door begging for food and suffered the humiliation of being turned away and insulted. The Guru's idea was to see whether after all of these experiences, Swami Chinmayananda would still be wanting to serve the people around. As a result of these travels, the last traces of ego in his heart had been wiped out and he was ready for his great mission. Going back to the Himalayas, he sat at the feet of his master and asked for permission to begin this journey. As a warning, his master said, people are not interested in the high message of Vedanta. Even if 5 or 6 people come to listen to you, be satisfied. With this blessing, Swamiji set out again from the Himalayas. On his way, he stopped at Rishikesh, where some of the ashram residents were not as enthusiastic as Swami Chinmayananda. They asked him, what if the people reject you? What if they don't come? What if they criticize you? Swamiji was unfazed by this. His response was, I am a sannyasi. I don't need to stay in one place for longer than a given period. If they reject me, I'll pack my bags and walk away. In this way, he was so free of attachments or expectations from this journey that he was able to bring his best. On his first talk on the 23rd of December 1951 in Pune, there were 6 people in attendance and also Swamiji and the host. So delighted that 8 people had arrived, 2 more than his guru said he would, he wrote in sincerity to his guru and said, the mission has started well. 6 people attended. He then commenced a 100-day series of talks in a temple in Pune that covered the highest Upanishads. Swamiji was so free of attachment, was so free of ego, that he would ride around Pune on a bicycle and announce loudly, a young Swami has come from the Himalayas to talk about the Upanishads. Come, listen to his program. He would spend the whole day cycling around and letting people know about the program. And in the evening, as the moment came to start speaking, he would be there on time, get off the bike, get onto the stage and start to deliver. On his first day of these 100-day series of talks, Swamiji recounted in his diary, on the opening day, I had an audience of 18 to address. With complete sincerity, he says, my heart leapt with joy. This attitude of no expectation but complete trust and surrender in his mission made Swami Chinmayananda the great spiritual master that he is. During the course of his 40 years of service, when Swamiji would start a series of talks, tens of thousands of people would attend. And this is in the era before the internet, before texting, before instant telecommunication. Tens of thousands of people would gather and listen to him. His talks, known as Yagyas, were inaugurated by the President of India himself. Many spiritual luminaries were born under the guidance of Swami Chinmayananda. The trickle that started with 6 attendees eventually became a mighty gushing river, spreading the knowledge of Vedanta. And that river, when it entered the sea, created waves that reached us across the world. One of those waves, 16 years ago, touched me here in London. And it is because of Swamiji's self-effacing approach to spreading Vedanta, no matter what, was I benefited by it. It was this attitude of self-sacrifice that led to us having this conversation today. But you might ask yourself, what does acting without attachment have to do with achieving great results? It's not without reason that Bhagwan says, Tasmad asaktaf satatam karyam karma samachara asakto ihacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Therefore, always perform action which should be done without attachment. For by performing action without attachment, man attains the supreme. If you want to achieve a similar phenomenal impact, then acting in accordance with these 3 laws of manifestation, recognize the divine, renounce your ego, and act without attachment is definitely necessary. And how do you do this? Well, you're going to have to join me in the next video where we start to discuss the journey of a beginner, the baby steps that we need to take early in our journey to achieve maximum impact. Now, I rarely ever speak about my own experience on this channel. It's all about spreading the message of the scriptures. But if I were to share one thing from my experience, it is to say that acting without attachment makes everything possible. When I first started the Seva, I didn't know who would do the filming. I did not know who would do the editing. I did not know who would bring these videos to you, who would be able to do any of the designing. But when undertaking Seva, without expectation, Bhagwan arranges everything to happen. And so the right videographer came, the right editor came, the right search engine specialist came. And if you want to join in this spirit of service, then I invite you to subscribe to our channel. This is a small step for you, but makes a huge impact for us. And if you've already subscribed, then do share with family and friends. My name is Dhumatkar. Thank you for joining us on yet another video on the Bhagavad Gita. And I'll see you again very soon with more secrets from chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga. Namaste.